So I give him credit, but I'm sorry. I just there's the logo, Jerry West, 9 NBA Finals appearances, won one, and also won a Finals MVP in a losing effort. 44 points in an overtime game in the finals. Jerry West averaging about 27 a game in his career, and also a great defender. But people don't look back to that era. But Jerry West has every right to be considered in that discussion in the top three. I think that Allen Iverson wasn't able to win, but I just have to respect him for his dominance at that.
But the question was AI technically a point guard?
AI is a shooting guard.
He's a shooting guard.
He's a two guard.
He handled the ball almost all the time.
Yeah, but so did some of the other shooter guards who were just ball dominant.
Right.
Michael Jordan had the ball all the time. Kobe did playmaking things, but he also, a lot of times they would break the triangle and go into one-on-one tirades. And so they made a lot of decisions. Allen Iverson came in, listed at point guard, but when Larry Brown came, they found it best to move him to the shooting guard position and build a defensive minded team around him so that he was a volume scorer, but Allen Iverson was dominant. I don't put him as high because I just feel like Dwyane Wade at this point, he won 3 championships. But look, I have to push back with Clyde Drexler. People act like Clyde Drexler wasn't even given Jordan work in the 80s and the early 90s. He was considered Jordan West. He didn't have the same type of green light. He wasn't going to shoot 24, 25 times a game. But Drexler would average 25 or 26 points a game, 4 or 5 assists, 5 or 6 rebounds. Drexler was like a small forward playing shooting guard with long arms, big hands, and people always denigrate him for the game in the NBA Finals in '92 in Game 1 where Jordan hit 6 threes in the first half, and people make it seem like that was the dominance with the shrug game. That almost belittled Clyde Drexler and make it say that was the crux of his career, and that Jordan was here and Drexler was here. It was actually a little bit closer in that time period. Drexler was an MVP caliber player, mostly an MVP candidate, never was able to win one. I have my knocks on Clyde Drexler, but on both ends of the floor, Clyde Drexler was dominant in that time period. So the fact that he never gets mentioned at 6'7", it's just preposterous to me. I don't know that if Ray Allen was dealing with Clyde Drexler, who will come out on top if they would face each other in a 7-game series. You got to give Clyde some props. In the rest of that 92 series, it's not like Drexler just went away after Game 1. I mean, he put up numbers. And I didn't like
how in the Jordan documentary they didn't include that. Like, they was overshadowing, Clyde Drexler for real. They were. So,
Jordan was better. Jordan had more facets to his game. He was more developed. His skill level was higher. His fundamentals were more polished than Drexler was. My knocks on Drexler was the fact that in 1990, they made it to the NBA Finals. They lost to Isaiah Thomas and the Detroit Pistons in 5 games. Isaiah was more neurotic about winning. In 91, they were 63-19. They beat the Lakers 5 times in the regular season, but in the Western Conference Finals, Clyde Drexler was outsmarted by older Magic Johnson, less athletic. Drexler was guarding him most of the series, and the Lakers won in 6 games, where Portland probably should have been in the finals a year earlier. Then 92, we know what happened, but they were very closely. That those teams, it was an even match to the Chicago Bulls. Buck Williams, Jerome Kersey, Duckworth, Terry Porter seemed to take every big shot down the stretch when games was on the line. Drexler didn't always come through, so I have my knocks on him. But at the same time, Clyde Drexler should be in the conversation for at least a top 5 greatest shooting guard of all time, if not number 3. Because I don't know if those players are better.
I'll put him top 5.
Okay.
I'll put him top 5.
Yeah, I think Clyde is a very fair choice.
Are those guys better than Clyde? I mean, you got more championships. I get it, Wade, but if they had to match up against each other, are you dealing with Clyde?
No, man. I think Clyde is a great choice. 2, I think that number 3 really is a pretty wide open conversation. But 3, I think I've always heard people give Clyde his due, though. Like, people have always talked about how great Clyde was, even from like his college career, and then how that transitions into the NBA.
Jammer.
Yeah, like Clyde Drexler. Like, I mean, at the time when he was playing, Clyde was. What I remember most about Clyde Drexler is how much he was talked about and during the time that Jordan was out of basketball. those Rockets teams that won.
He won a championship with Hakeem Olajuwon.
Because those were the years where Clyde was really dominant in terms of like one of the main scorers other than Olajuwon, and in the way that him and Sam Cassell kind of played together was really, really impressive. Like that was a really strong backcourt. Like Clyde has always gotten his respect in terms of people out here talk about that era. It's just that the more known narrative has to do with that game against the Blazers and the Bulls. But I mean, you could easily say Clyde Drexler is right there. Like he's absolutely top 5. I think you can make a very strong case for 3. I think that any of those 3 have a very strong case. I think popular opinion, and short memory is people are going to say Dwyane Wade probably. I think that if you look at overall skills and accomplishments, that might be Ray Allen. But if you look at like most consistent career over a longest span, that's probably Clyde Drexler.
The Ray Allen thing just troubles me.
It does. It troubles me too, man.
I think y'all are forgetting how prominent Ray Allen really was and what he did best.
I'm an NBA historian. I know Ray Allen.
Like those years in Milwaukee when he really had
with Sam Cassell.
With Sam Cassell, like those were some really good teams that he was the catalyst. That year with the Celtics, when it was like, okay, Paul Pierce might be getting doubled, KG is, getting some foul trouble. Ray Allen was the guy who always stepped up and made sure the big games were like they didn't fall in games.
Championships.
Defensively, a lot of people hate Ray Allen, especially if you were a Celtics fan and then saw how he jumped ship to the Heat. And then again, he was an extreme catalyst on those Heat years.
Okay, at that peak, I'm gonna ask you this: are you taking Dwyane Wade at his peak? Oh no, scratch that. Are you taking Ray Allen at his peak over Dwyane Wade at his peak? I want to hear this.
I am, because if he has a wide open shot, he's going to make a higher percentage of them than Dwyane Wade. He's just as good as a defender.
I disagree with that.
D Wade's jumper was always spotty. Ray Allen not only was great from beyond the arc, but his short range game was really strong.
I'll give you that. Ray Allen is a good shooter. He was a great 3-point shooter, but as far as like an all around game, a guy that's going to give me blocks, rebounds, a playmaker who's going to play defense, that's going to score a good 30 every night.
Ray Allen's going to score a good 30 every night. You can put Ray Allen on your best offensive backcourt player against anybody.
You make a compelling argument, Victor.
He's great off the dribble.
Dwyane Wade is a better.
People forget how good he was at finishing at the rim as well.
Dwyane Wade is a better athlete. Dwyane Wade is a better athlete, but Dwyane Wade might be like 6'3.5", which makes his athleticism really superb. He was lightning quick. Yeah. Defensively, he was solid after the 2008 Olympics when Braun and Wade played with Kobe. They came back different. They came back better defenders, focusing on that side of the floor. I would say that Dwyane Wade is a better off-the-ball defender, off the weak side for blocks and steals, catching you off the weak side. Ray Allen is probably a better on-the-ball defender. When you're faced with someone and you have to stop them and lock them down, I would give Ray Allen that. Mm-hmm. When it comes down to a checklist of skills, you make a compelling argument for Ray Allen. He does have 2 championships, but towards the end, he wasn't necessarily the driving force. Dwyane Wade was close to at least being the driving force for at least one of those titles, and he was the second best player on 2 of them. As far as Ray Allen, when he won his championships, I feel like he was the 3rd best player on the Celtics, maybe the 4th because Rondo was there and coming along. And then on the Heat, he was probably the 4th or 5th best player. I have to really sit and think about it. But you make a compelling argument as far as skills. But as far as number 3, I have to I lean towards Wade because of the title count and his what he had to do with them winning those titles. But Clyde Drexler's got a championship too, and I don't know if either of these guys was faced against Clyde. Even Kobe said that he was one of the toughest players that he had to face, and that was like early career. Clyde Drexler, towards the end of Clyde's career, facing a young Kobe, he had problems with Clyde because of his size, his length, his physical strength, and the physicality of the NBA back then. It's just kind of hard to say, but another